The first rule that we're going to create is for actually centering this over here, this image, work, and this link over here. So what I'm going to write over here, I'm going to write that HTML and the body, both of them, should the height be 100%. And you'll see why I'm doing this just in a couple of seconds. But for now, just follow me with this, right? Now, after that, we have a body. And we're going to write that we would want a font size over here to be 100%, or here like this. We're going to say that we would want 100% font size, and we would want a line height to be like something like 1.5 EM over here like this. All right. So this is going to be our line height. Now, after that, we're actually ready and start actually with working with our banner over here like this. And what I'm going to say is I would want to select a banner, and then I would start actually styling it. Now what I want to do over here is I want to actually comment it out that I want to say that this is going to be a banner section over here. Now there's probably going to be some more general rules in between over here, but for now we're just going to have a banner section. So this is what we're going to start styling. And again, we would need to add a height of 100%. And again, you will see why in a few seconds. And over here, I'm going to say that I would want a background, and I would want a background, a picture, right? So over here, we need to write a URL. And over here, we would need to obviously select images, right? So we go over here and we would say that we would want a images, and we would want a main section images, right? And again, you can place your pictures wherever you want, but I already know that this is going to be with main pictures, main background, right? So over here, you can see that right now I have this picture. Now, this is really, really a big one, right? Therefore, we need to center it, right? But it's actually there, right? So the next rule that we would need to do is actually background repeat. Right, we would say background repeat, no repeat. Then after that, we would say that background size should be cover. Background size over here, this is going to be cover over here like this. And you can see that it's already better, it's more visible. And after that, we're going to say that we would want a position of that image to be center. So we have a background position over here, and we just write center or here like this. So you can see that it's perfectly right now in the center, and we can probably make it a little bit bigger while we're working on it. And after that, we would want something for this little link over here that you cannot see. We're just going to say that the position of this whole thing is going to be relative. And again, I'm going to explain once we get that, the same with this height of 100%, right? Now, if we want this parallax effect, right, that as we're scrolling up and down, which we're going to see once we add the next section, we need to add over here this background attachment fixed, right? So we have a couple of options. We can have a background attachment over here like this, and we can just set it to fixed, right? Or we can just add that fixed at the end of this URL, right? So again, we have two options, or we can just write over here fixed, right? And it will do the same thing. And again, you'll see as you're scrolling up and down, this is going to create over here this parallax effect, right? Now, after that, what I want to do is I want to create this image and work and all this, and I just want to place them directly in the center, right? So over here, once I'm done with a banner, now what I want to do is I want to comment this out, and I want to say that this is going to be banner content, right? And sorry, not banner content. I want to say that this is going to be a line in the center, right? So over here, I'm just going to create again over here this asterisk, and I'm going to say that this is going to be a line vertical center over here like this. And over here, we're going to actually start styling the classes that we have. So we can go back over here and just check, right? So we have a banner content, right? And we have a banner icon over here, right? So we obviously would need to start with banner content. So we have, again, a couple of options. We can have a quick edit, right? Or we can just work in main CSS. And I'm just going to work with main CSS. Just remember, when you're working with the brackets, you can actually use this quick edit, and you would be setting the rule right away in main CSS, right? But I'm just going to be writing this rule in the main CSS. So we go over here, and we would need to select the ID, and the ID was banner content, right? So we write banner content, and then we say the rule, right? And the rule, we would need to have a height of 100% over here, and then we would have a width of 100% over here. And the last thing we want is a display of table, right? So now it is displayed as a table. Now, after that, we would need to select another ID that's within that banner content, right? And that ID was a banner box, right? So now I'm just going to create a little bit more space again, over here like this, and I'm going to write that this is going to be banner. This is going to be banner box, right? And you can see that I messed up over here with these parentheses, but now we have a banner box. And what we need to write for a banner box is height to be 100%, right? And then we would want a display of table cell over here like this, and we would want a vertical line middle, and you can see right away how it is in the middle, right? And if we write text align and we write center, so then it's going to be center. Now the trick is why we were doing all this, you can see over here this height 100%, right? Height 100%, right? And then it's going to be height. And then, so what happens is that if we're styling like this, right? If we're writing that ID that we created, right? That it has 100%, and this is displayed as table. And then whatever we're placing inside is going to be also height of 100%. The problem is if we don't go up the chain, right? If we don't go up all the chain to all appearance elements, right? That are included over here, right? So you can see that we have our banner content, right? That we set for 100% as a table. However, all of these, this banner and the body, and obviously the whole HTML, right? We need to set them for 100%. Because if we don't do this, let's say if we just get rid of this, you can see that nothing is happening, right? We don't have this 100%, and we don't have this scroll effect, and it's actually not going to be lining up the way we want. So we want a height over here of 100%. And the same thing over here, let's say if we change this one around, right? If we don't have this one, right? It's the same thing. It's not going to be working the way we want it if we don't set this height for 100%. And the annoying thing a little bit is that we need to really go all the way up to the chain, right? So if we want this height to be 100%, right? As we land over here in this page, the same thing needs to be over here, right? The same thing needs to be with the body and within HTML. Now, once we're done with a banner box, once we have placed it in the center, I think now we're actually ready start styling actually how they look, right? So here I'm just going to say text over here and a link, right? And I'm going to be styling this image and this work, right? This link. And again, we're just going to have to create a lot of space over here. And we're just going to write over here that we would want a banner box, right? This is going to be our ID. And we would want a H1 within that banner box, right? And you can see that the nice thing about brackets preview right away, it gives you this area where it says that he's styling it, right? So here I'm going to say that first thing that I would want to do is actually I would want to get rid of this margin that it has on the top, right? So the first thing that I'm going to say that I would want a margin 0, right? Over here. And just in case, I'm just going to write a style for once we're dealing with a Bootstrap, we would want to write this important, right? And in case, just in case sometimes you're wondering whether everything is working or not, just make sure that you write this important, right? Because this is going to override a default style from the Bootstrap, right? So I want this margin over here to be 0, because then for sure it's actually sitting in the center. Because even though we placed it actually here, vertical line middle, what you're going to see sometimes this annoying margin of that default margin from the Bootstrap, that's actually going to be messing up your alignments, right? So this is what you want to do, is you want to actually write a margin 0 for this h1, and let's add a couple of more styles. So here I'm going to say font size is, let's say it's going to be something like 80 pixels, or here like this, and then we're going to say that font weight, and I'm just going to go with the max that I had, is font weight is going to be 400 over here like this. And after that, we're going to say that text transform should be to a uppercase. So we're going to write text transform and to uppercase over here like this. And after that, we're going to say that the color, we're just going to go with the traditional black, right? So this is where I'm going to be kind of sticking with my web colors. Here, I'm not going to be using this one because I think it's a little bit more sharper when we're working with this web color. And after that, we would want to create over here this underline, right, that we had. Remember this div that we created that looked like a empty div, right? This is what we're going to be using for our line. So we go back over here to our main CSS, right? And because I saved it, I need to create again more space. And I'm going to say that I would want a select a ID, and I would want a underline, right? So once I select a underline, we're going to start creating this line. So I would want to say that width of that line should be something like 300 pixels, something like this. And after that, I'm going to say that this is going to have a border, and the border is going to be 3 pixels solid, right? 3 pixels solid over here like this. And now I want to use my orange color. So I just go, where is my orange? And I'm just gonna copy this, right? And I'm gonna go back over here, paste it, and now you can see that I have my orange. And after that, I want to place it in the center. So I can do this by margin, and I can say that the margin should be 0 and auto, right? And now you can see that it's actually placed exactly in the center. Now we're ready to actually go and style over here this link, right? So over here, I'm just going to write that this is going to be a banner box. Again, I'm going back to the previous ID, but right now I'm going to want to style the link, right? So again, you can see that brackets gives you a live preview where you're working on, right? So if you ever have any questions, the area is going to be highlighted. And here we're going to say font size, or here is going to be 30 pixels, something like this. And we're going to create a border, and we're going to say that this is going to be a border over here, and it's going to be 2 pixels solid white smoke over here like this. And after that, we're going to say that we would want a display inline block, right? So we're going to say that this is going to be inline block. And after that, we're going to say that this is going to have a padding and a margin top, right? So I'm going to say that this is going to have a padding of 15 pixels. Then it's going to have a 20 pixels over here like this. And again, as always, we're just going to add this important just in case if we have, I don't know, missed it or something like that. Or maybe something is not working. And after that, we're going to say that this is going to have a margin top over here like this. And we're going to say this is going to be like 20 pixels, right? So now we can see that we actually moved this link lower, right? And in some cases, maybe this is not necessary, this is important, right? So you can see that if it is working, you can just skip that. But in some cases, if you're frustrated why something is not working, just remember that you need to include this important, right? So I'm just sometimes just adding extra just so we can kind of remember what to do, right? But it's not necessary in all the cases. And after that, we're going to say what would be the color of this link, and we're just going to use a white smoke over here like this. And this is going to be the same as the border. And we're going to say that text decoration is going to be none, right? Because we cannot see this line right now, but it is actually there. So we're just going to say text decoration over here, and we're going to write this is going to be none. And the next thing that I would want to do is actually, once we're hovering, right, we would want this link to change a little bit, right? And the way we would do that we would write a banner box while we're hovering, right? So we're just gonna write a banner and banner box a, and while we're hovering and while it's in a focus, right? So we're just gonna add two rules. So here it's gonna be banner box a, and this is gonna be a focus, and then we're gonna have a rule that this is gonna have a color, right? So it's gonna be a different color, and the color again we're just gonna use this one, this orange one here like this. So we're just gonna copy this and we're gonna paste it, and background color we're gonna say that this is gonna be a white smoke right now, right? So we have a white smoke over here like this. So if we save it and we maybe refresh it over here, you can see that how we got this, right? So now you can see that as I'm hovering, it is actually turning over here to have this background white smoke, and the color is going to be this orange one, right? And now what we want to do is you can see this little link, right? That would be actually directing to our services later on. We would actually want to style that, right? So again, I'm just going to create over here a comment. So we're going to create more room, and then we're going to create a comment. We're going to say that this is going to be link right down the page, right? But you can obviously write your own comments. That's the way I positioned it, right? And here I'm going to say that this is going to be banner icon. This is going to be a ID that's holding it, and over here I'm going to say a, right? So now you can see that I'm working with. And what I want to do over here is I want a position to be absolute, right? And the reason for that is I want to place it all the way in the bottom over here. Now the thing is, this is why when we were working, we needed a position relative for the actual banner, right? For this one, right? So I want this link to be enclosed within this relative over here, this banner, right? And therefore I'm using this absolute. And if I'm using the absolute, and if I want to place it all the way in the bottom, I need to use this relative. Otherwise, if I'm going to be placing it all the way in the bottom, it's going to be somewhere where I cannot find it, right? So here I'm going to write a position absolute, and I'm going to say that this is going to have a, from the bottom, it's going to be actually 10%, right? So I'm going to write 10%, something like this. So you can see right now where it is sitting, right? So it's kind of small right now, so we're going to check it out a little bit later once we make it bigger. And over here, I'm going to say that this is going to have left 50% over here like this. And then since we're going to be actually adding height and width and all that, we want right away use a transform property where it's actually going to translate its own width and height, right? So basically what we're saying for the document is to ignore its own height and width and place it exactly in the center, right? And after that, we would want add again font size over here like this, and we would want to say that this is going to be like 30 pixels. And after that, we're going to say that this is going to have a color, and this is going to have a white color. We're just going to go with a white one for now. And then we're going to say that the border is going to be white smoke. So maybe let's right away both of them add that they're going to be white smoke, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that this is going to be 2 pixel solid white smoke, right? So maybe let's right away add this one as white smoke too, just so they match over here like this. So both of them are white smoke, and we're just going to create a border radius because we want it round, right? So we're going to have border radius, and this is going to be a 50% over here like this. And then we're going to have a padding of 5 pixels over here like this, right? So now we have created our link that's actually going to be actually guiding us down the page, right? And here what we would want a banner icon, right? As we're hovering, we just want it a different color, right? So we want a icon hover over here like this, and we would want a banner icon hover. What we would want a opacity, right? We would want to have a opacity 0.6, something like this, right? So it's a little bit less while we're hovering, so the transparency is there. And we want a color, and color should be black, and the border color also should be black. All right, so we just write over here, border, and border color is gonna be black, over here like this. All right, so if we save this over here, you can see that as we're hovering, it's actually a turning black, right? So we have created over here our banner. This is going to be a start of our page. And again, we're going to be adding over here this nav bar later. Just for now, we have this over here, this page, the beginning of the page. But before we switch to the next section, let's add a animate CSS and a wow.js. So it's actually bouncing up and down.